Good morning. I received a meme of all things on Facebook yesterday from a clergy friend. It said very clearly, don't be that person. And then down below was a picture of everybody leaving church with somebody coming in. You weren't that person today, so we can be thankful for that. And thanks for remembering to turn your clocks so you can be with us today. I think this is probably the hardest Sunday morning of the year to get up. It's Lent. We just turned our clocks ahead. We lost an hour of sleep over here. But I really want to come here and start by thanking Reverend Tabor Hamilton, for inviting me to unpack our readings for today and have a chance to talk to you about a thing that is really important to me. And I want to thank you for inviting us almost 11 months ago to come and return to our roots. The Interfaith Association of Northwest Washington's first roots were downstairs in a small room where they all packed in together to get started and start the family shelter. And we came back again last year asking for a spot. And I want to thank you very much for welcoming us here and letting us be part of your congregation. And now a chance to speak with you today. When God spoke to Jesus at his baptism, right before our reading for today, he said, you're my beloved child, with whom I am well pleased. I know my Father loved me, but he was never quite that demonstrative. We all would love to have that parent say to us, as clear as that, I'm well pleased in what you do. But the next thing that happened there was kind of different than what you'd expect. Filled with the Spirit and ready to begin his ministry, he doesn't run out and start that ministry. He immediately goes off for 40 days into the wilderness. As you look at the Gospels, you'll see a lot of times where Jesus goes off to be by himself. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is every time there's something big that's going to happen, you'll know that he went off by himself. Even right before his own death in the Garden of Gethsemane, he went off by himself and took time to do that. And that might be an example for what we ought to be doing this Lent, is taking some time to go off by ourselves and really listen to the Word, listen to what the Lord has to say to us. Take some time. I know in the last several weeks as I was preparing for this, that's one of the things I did, is to go off by myself, hard as it is in our world to do, to get there. Why do you think this gospel was chosen for the first Sunday of Lent? One of the reasons why it might be is it might be to point out the parallels in Jesus' life to what he's asking us to do also. He went off for 40 days to prayer and fast. We're called to spend this 40 days of Lent reflecting on our lives and ways that we can change them to make them better. It also might be tied to what modern psychologists tell us, that it takes about 6 weeks to really change a habit or a behavior. Jesus didn't have any behaviors he needed to change, but we might. This reading from Luke also indicates Jesus hadn't eaten for 40 days when Satan came along to tempt us. I have a hard time making it just through the morning between breakfast and lunch without that temptation. Any human would be sorely tempted. And we are faced with temptations every day. They may not be as obvious as, here's some loaves after you've been fasting for 40 days, or here is the top of a temple, throw yourself down and send the angels to come and get you because God will take care of you. But when we choose to focus on things of this world and expose at the expense of the next, we're being tempted. When we're tempted to go out on our own way instead of God's way, we're being tempted. When we attempt to make ourselves great at the expense of others, we're being tempted. We are giving our allegiances to the Lord of this world, not the Lord of the next. When it's even less obvious, and what is even less obvious, are our sins of omission. It's the things I have failed to do those kind of things where we stop and say, okay, Lord, I didn't break any of the commandments today. I didn't do the things that I shouldn't have done. But what were the things I should have done that I didn't? What are the things that we ought to have done? It's not that we attacked or assaulted the panhandler outside the post office. We just walked by and failed to realize that was a human being there. That we probably turned away and looked someplace different. Every day I go to that post office in the morning, every day there's a different guy there, or sometimes the same guy outside asking for a donation. I walk by there and look them in the eye. But every day in my job, I get to also walk with people who are experiencing their own desert. Sometimes through no fault of their own, families lose a home and their relationships with their friends and family at the same time. Parents, with their children, walk into the back door of the Interfaith Family Shelter after a true desert experience. That, by the way, isn't over yet. Usually it's been weeks or months of watching their lives slowly fall apart that sends our client into the desert. We get the opportunity to help families reclaim their lives, their dignity, and their hope. 80% of the people who walk in that back door walk out the front door, sometimes less than 80 days later, moving into a new apartment, moving into someplace stable. I can also say that I'm happy to say that a year later, of those 80%, 90% of those folks are still in that home a year later. Good coaching, some financial support, training and collaboration with schools and other agencies can change lives. The Interfaith Family Shelter is not just providing a room and a meal, it's helping to change lives. There's not enough family shelters in our community. We provide 11 of the 53 units for emergency shelter for families in Snohomish County. We provide 11 of the 16 units in the county that allow fathers and teenage sons to remain with their families when they're in the shelter. Last night, however, there were at least twice that many families looking for a place to stay. One day last week, I met with one of my case managers and asked her to pull up the list, the phone call list that we get each day of the people who are looking for help. One of those days, there were 8 people who called for looking for a shelter, and we didn't have a place open at that time. Last week total, there were 25 different families looking for a room in the shelter. We had 2 rooms that came open last week, and we filled them within minutes. What can you do this Lent to make a difference for these people in need? Well, I think the first thing that you can do that's not difficult at all and doesn't cost you anything and doesn't cost any more than is that when you walk by somebody who's looking for a handout or you see somebody along the freeway who's asking for help, just make eye contact and recognize them as a fellow human being. Didn't cost you anything, didn't do anything. I usually stop and talk to them, and that may not be what you do. I'm 6'3" and about 250 pounds, and it's not too fearful. And the question I ask them almost all the time is, where did you spend the night last night? And you get some incredibly interesting answers. Probably my most interesting answer was a closed mortuary. He was pretty scared that night. If you don't feel comfortable having a conversation, just a nod and a recognition, that's enough. But if you feel particularly called to do something, but you don't want to feed a habit or a bad habit, McDonald's coupons are always a great idea. If you go by and buy some and have them, hand them a McDonald's coupon for part of a meal of a meal. That's something that they can do. This last week, I found something out I didn't know. I was at a meeting and found out that Walmart, of all places, can sell you gift cards. And they can make them so that you cannot spend those gift cards on alcohol, tobacco, or firearms. So you're not giving in to somebody to feed a habit that's bad. You're able to give them something that can take care of and feed them in their temporal part. A friend of mine even puts together Ziploc bags and has it in her car. In those Ziploc bags, she puts a pair of socks, usually some kind of a space blanket, one of those Mylar blankets that are in there, a small bottle of water, and usually granola bars. There's something to feed all part of the people there, and whether you know it or not, most of these guys on the street never have a chance to do their wash. So the thing that happens is those socks become really important. They get traded out and never cleaned. And so it's something that they're always something they can use. This is a way you can do something when God does call you to care. I'm going to be in Rogers Hall after Masses today to talk with you about other ways that you can help. If you have some questions or thoughts, or even want to share your prayers, you can always use that. We'll also, of course, have ways that you can donate to help the important work of God's community. The psalm that we sang today was quoted by Satan in the gospel through Habakkuk Jesus. He will command his angels concerning you to protect you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Just because the evil one quoted the text doesn't change our job to be the hands and feet of God, to bear people up and help them and protect them. Thank you for your time and your support, and God bless you.